Moments ago, the Johannesburg Metro Police Department had announced that they had made a major breakthrough in an arrest of a gang-related shooting in the community of Westbury last weekend. A fatal shooting in Westbury linked to gang violence resulted in 4 fatalities. Well, last evening, the Johannesburg Metro Police Department had been able to apprehend and arrest a suspect related to this, following credible information in these investigations. The suspect was found with an unlicensed and illegal revolver weapon, with the serial number having been filed off. As and when more details come through on this, we will update you. But to this now. Parliament is set to consider the Tobacco Products and Electronic Delivery Systems Control Bill, which seeks to strengthen regulations of tobacco and nicotine products. These include vapes, e-cigarettes and heated tobacco products, alongside conventional combustible cigarettes. However, the bill provides different requirements for different product categories, rather than treating them all as identical. To unpack this, we are joined by the head of the School of Health Systems and Public Health at the University of Pretoria, Professor Olalekan Ayo-Yusuf. Prof. Ayo-Yusuf, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. What is the aim of the, as we call it, the tobacco bill?
Good evening. So the tobacco bill is actually set out to make the South African law compliant with a global norm of public health, reducing the burden of tobacco-related illnesses and reducing nicotine addiction, in line with the World Health Organization's framework for tobacco control. So as you probably know, the current law passed in 1993 is certainly outdated. There's been some amendments in 2008, 2007, but that was not enough to cover the gaps, particularly when it comes to the new nicotine and tobacco products. And therefore, this bill is meant to extend, for example, the smoking areas and remove the smoking areas. Currently, you have 25% of a floor space that can be used or designated as a smoking area. But research has shown that those who are in the non-smoking areas do get the smoke. So that's what this law is going to correct. Secondly, these vapes and the new products, it's going to ban the advertisement of these products on radio and on social media, because the billboards have now been replaced by social media feeds of young children, and protect in particular the new generation. It will also introduce what we call standardized packaging. And I think I need to explain that very well, because it involves having a plain color pack, not a plain pack, a plain color pack in a standard size, but it will still have your tax stamp so that you can still trace if they have not paid taxes on them. It will have the brand name, and it would not have those colors that attract young people, like the pink. You cannot have strawberries on those packs, and that's the essence of having a standardized pack.
Yeah, it also seems that the bill is drawing a distinction between combustible nicotine products or combustible tobacco products and non-combustible nicotine products. That is to say, cigarettes on the one hand and nicotine pouches and or non-combustible or heated vapes on the other hand. And it seems to, at least the draft seems to intend to assign a risk profile to each product. Talk us through those details.
Indeed, I think it's very important to understand particularly this. There's been a lot of contestation around whether the bill is differentiating these products. And we contend that reading through the bill very carefully, it has actually done that. Now, what you will see from the preamble of the bill, it speaks to what we call precautionary principle. In other words, it recognizes that the science around this new product is not like, it has not reached conclusion. It is still evolving. It took us about 50 years to find out that smoking causes lung cancer. Many of these products have been in the market very, recently, like oral pouches have been in the market for only about 7 years. Your vapes have been around for about 10, 15 years. So people have not used it long enough to be able to tell us what's going to happen in the long term. However, what we know today is that it exposes you to fewer toxins. So if you have oral nicotine tobacco or a vape, you do not put fire to it. Anything that you put fire on tobacco, it's hopefully very harmful. So we know that the exposure are different, and therefore the bill says for tobacco product, for example, you must have the health warning and a graphic warning that says it causes cancer, it causes lung cancer, or whatever it is, because we already know that. But for the other products, it allows the minister to regulate over time as the science evolves, what we call a built-in flexibility into legislation. And that way you have what we call a future-proof legislation. So as the science evolves, you can make further regulations to tighten it. So this is what I see as what we call proportionate to different products.
Yeah, and it also seems as though, and the distinction here, and please do explain for us, I know the medical science can get a little bit complicated on this, but the risk profile seems to be differentiated not just on toxins, but the carcinogenic index of each of those toxins. That is to say, how likely are these toxins to create or cause cancer in the body? Is it indeed true that at a manufacturing, production, scientific level, that say a nicotine pouch, a nicotine oral pouch, has fewer carcinogenic toxins than, say, a stock standard cigarette?
Indeed. It is, like I said, if you do not ignite or put fire, you would get fewer toxins. However, the public health purpose, the purpose of a bill like the one we have, is not about just toxicology. It goes beyond toxicology. You've talked about just one disease, which is cancer. Tobacco and nicotine and all other chemicals causes all other forms of illnesses other than cancer. And I would argue, for example, cardiovascular disease. Nicotine, we know, if you put nicotine in the body in enough quantity, is going to increase your blood pressure. It's a vasoconstrictor. So if you already have a risk for high blood pressure, you are definitely not supposed to be ingesting nicotine. And nobody is supposed to be ingesting nicotine. Or if you are pregnant, for example, you're not supposed to be ingesting, inhaling or ingesting nicotine. If you are an adolescent and your brain is still growing, the brain, it takes up to age 21, you're not supposed to be using nicotine. So the balance is the public health benefit. When we talk about an individual smoker who completely switches to any of this product with lower exposure, and I say exposure, not necessarily risk. The health risk, it takes you many years to eventually find out what it does to your health. But we know the immediate one is that you are not going to have as much exposure. So hypothetically, if a smoker changes to any of this product, they will have less exposure. And hypothetically, over time, they could reduce their risk. On the other hand, if you have non-smokers start to use this product like young people and they get addicted, you have new risks that they would not have had. If you have a smoker who continues to smoke and use this product, the risk does not reduce. If you have an ex-smoker who starts to smoke again because of the nicotine in this product, the risk has not reduced. So the public health benefit is what we look at. And this is why this legislation has to be balanced. And I believe it is balanced in that way.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your insights on this. Really do appreciate it. Of course, processes in the lawmaking process still taking place before the Parliamentary Committee of Health on this. That is Professor Olalekan Ayo-Yusuf, who is the head of the School of Health Sciences, Health Systems and Public Health at the University of Pretoria.